So, my name's Jazz. This is my husband, Narinder.
I'm Narinder, yeah.
So, the company is the lettings and sales business. And yes, we do come from very different backgrounds. So, I studied law, basically. So, I have a law degree. So, the intention was that I would get into law. And I did work for a law firm for a short while. But I just realised it wasn't for me because I used to work with my parents during summer holidays because they have quite a large portfolio of rental properties. I realised that, I was really enjoying my summer working with them, that I decided that this is what I need to do. So got into property.
I had absolutely no intention of going into property, to be honest. I did my degree and I used to, I worked in IT. So I was one of these people who'd go into businesses at night, pull out all the old cabling, put the new cabling down, work through the night, and I'll be in the morning with my coffee waiting for all the workers to come in so I can make sure the PCs were working. And then it sort of snowballed from there. I think it was more to do with the fact that when we got married, and I moved to Leicester, and I spent a day with Jazz's dad. And all he kept beating on about was property, this, property, that. He said, you can never go wrong with property. And I came over and said to Jazz, I said, all your dad's done all day is talk to me about property. But everything he's saying to me makes a lot of sense. I said, we need to, and all of a sudden that piqued my interest. I suddenly found myself, every time I was with him, just picking his brain. So what did you do? How did you do? What did you do? And you know what? It's one of those things, you can sit in a classroom and somebody can talk to you or teach you about property, but you can't be learning of someone who's been there and got the t-shirt. And then it sort of snowballed from there, didn't it, really?
I think Dad started with telling you how he purchased his first home, and then how he purchased his first investment property, and how much he bought it for, and then what it's worth now. And then I think Narinder started thinking, wow, he really knows what he's talking about here, And then he started to say to me, Mum and Dad are great, with what they're doing. It's fantastic. Like, they've come here to the UK with nothing. And then they've worked, and they used to work from sort of a living room with a machine, a sewing machine. And then they ended up with all these businesses and lots of investment properties. And then I think Dad started to say to us, this is the way you'll really, be successful. This is what you need to do. And then, slowly got into it.
And again, it's one of those things. I went into a company and you start from the bottom, and you sort of build your knowledge up, because yes, I can go into a company and say, I've got a master's degree in business information systems and I can do this. But when it came to property, I didn't know much, just what I had sort of picked up. So I started as a lettings negotiator, didn't I? Yeah. I literally used to do viewings. I was like a bit of a Pied Piper. So we used to work for a company who were prominent, very close to the universities. And even back then, if you got a group of students, you can't obviously take them in the car. So I literally, come on, we're going to go see a house around the corner, and I'll be walking, and I'd have like a row of students behind me going to these houses, and you'd show them around, and then suddenly it became very satisfying, because you're sort of, in a way, you're sort of trying to find a house for students who are going to live there for the next year. Now, students are 18, 19 years old, they're not really too bothered about what they do, how they do it. But I found myself thinking out the box. I think, well, hang on a minute, you're going to be here for the next 10 months. Is this actually going to work for you? It was logical things like, if you're drunk on a Friday night, are you going to be able to walk home? Because this is actually up a very steep hill, mate. You're probably going to struggle to sort of get home. So it became very, very much, Jazz and myself used to be very hands-on even then, even though we were just working for an estate agency. And that's sort of where I sort of built my sort of, I could say my sort of knowledge of the property market, learning the basics and how they should work, and then sort of started snowballing from there, didn't it?
Yeah. So we don't really want to be regarded as an estate agent, because that's not how we see ourselves. To me, an estate agent is somebody you go to, if you're looking at buying or selling a property, and it's pretty much one size fits all, and that's not us. We regard ourselves as property consultants. So with us, recently we had a client who wanted to put their property on the market, and they had a lot of work that needed doing first. And it was a situation where, can you help me get this work done so that then I can put my property on the market? You know, people are busy. People, you know, they lead busy lives. They have their own work, families have lots going on. So yeah, we helped get this property ready through our other sister company, which is a maintenance company. Yeah. So we got the property ready and then we put the property on the market. Now, a normal estate agent would say, call me when you're ready. But that's not how we work. We want to help you, we want to hold your hand and guide you through the process so that we all have this goal, don't we? You know, we've got a vendor that wants to sell their property quite quickly and get the best return on their investment. And we obviously, this is what we do, we want to help them sell their property. And, you know, obviously it's a business and we want to sort of, you know, we want to receive our commission quite quickly as well. So we think if we hold your hand through the process, we all get to that end goal. And that's how we work.
And I suppose it's also because we've done a lot of consulting work for other estate agents. So for about 4 or 5 years, actually, we consulted for various estate agents in the region. So Leicester, Nottingham, Birmingham, Coventry. And you would go in and help these businesses move in the right direction, which is a massive sort of big string to our bow that we always prided ourselves on sort of troubleshooting and helping businesses who are struggling really sort of motor on. And you see some of these businesses now and they're very well-established names in the respective markets. But what we also picked up was stuff that was going on. You think, well, like, if I had my own agency, I would not do that. And I wouldn't do that because it's not the right way. Because the bottom line is the customer is king. You know, you're here to service your clients, whether it's somebody buying a house, somebody who's trusting you to sort of rent the house for them if they want to sell the house. These were the sort of challenges we faced. So when we decided to open our company, we said, we're going to try to break this stigma that's sort of indirectly attached to a estate agency and how they go about things and how they do things. And that was what led us to sort of say we're going to be sort of a bit more rounded in what we do.
So I think one of the points I touched upon was the fact that we are regarded as property consultants. So we help our clients, whether it's a landlord or a vendor, we will help them through the whole process. You know, it can be quite daunting putting your property on the market to sell in the first place and going through the whole process. You have so many agents that will visit you. We make it quite simple and straightforward for our clients. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And this is what we're going to charge you. And that's all they want to know. There's no hard sell with us either. We listen to what it is that they want us to achieve, you know, and help them achieve. And then we make a plan of how we're going to get there. Also with landlords, it's the same thing. I mean, you may be a landlord with years of knowledge and you've got this huge portfolio, or you may be an accidental landlord who has no idea where to start. Whatever, you know, whoever comes to us, we will help them with their compliance, you know, just literally sit down and say, right, okay, so you are now a landlord and this is what you need to do. These are your duties. This is, you know, this is what we will do and this is how we'll achieve this for you. That to me is one of the key things, is holding our client's hand, you know, throughout the whole process. And that is one of the things that I feel makes us very, very different. What would you say for the second point?
And I think it's one of those where obviously we're in business for a reason, because yes, everybody wants to make money and we're earning a living, but sometimes it goes past that for us with our clients. It's more the relationship we build with that client, because we will treat every client the way they deserve to be treated. And to give you an example of this is one of our clients at the moment used to be a client of one of our companies that we used to consult for. This client would come in every other month just wanting to meet the director of that company, and I remember the director used to huff and puff when this client used to walk in. So, oh my God, he's so-and-so here again. Even though I was only consulting for the company, I'd always make it my business to speak to this client. So how are you? You obviously come here, how are you? Can I make you drink? Just little things. There was nothing untoward. It wasn't my company. I just really liked to speak to the client and understand what this client was doing. Fast forward 6 months, when we took over this portfolio, this client had brought his one property across. A month in, and he came to see us at the office, and he said to me, he said, I just want to speak to you and Jazz. And he brought his wife with him. He was working together with his wife. He said, listen, we've really loved the fact how you guys always made it your business to speak to us, even when we used to come to so-and-so agency. You always took the time out. It was never too much, and that means a lot to us. I said, well, no, that's fine. You know, that's the least we can do. You've come all this way to speak to us. You're our client, you know, regardless whether you're with that agency or not. we would always make it. And he said, even now, since the last month you've been managing my property, every time I rang you, you've given me an answer, nothing's too much, and I've only got one flat. I said, listen, it's not about how many properties you've got. You're still a client of ours. He said, so on that note, can you manage my other 12? So this was literally because of the customer service we gave them. Now, another agent would just think, you just got one flat, you don't really mean anything to me. But for us, he was just a client. He's a client.
I actually asked him, I said, why is it that you never mentioned these other properties previously? He said, I gave one to begin with because I've had such a bad experience with agents over the years. I thought if I start with this agency by giving them one, then I can see how they deal with me. And I've loved everything you've done, so here are the other properties, they're all yours. And the relationship is going so well that he's actually now told us that he has more properties in Coventry and Birmingham. And he said, I want you to have those, so we've got a meeting for that as well. Yeah. So, you know, it's treating people the way you expect to be treated. Everybody pays for a service, and I don't care if you're receiving £50 from one client or £1,000 from another. It's still a service. So people come to you for a reason, and actually our clients are our biggest ambassadors. So, you know, we do get, our business, I would say, yes, marketing helps, but it has grown organically. It has grown through recommendations and referrals. And, you know, that makes us feel really sort of proud and happy, because actually when we did consult for other agencies, we would go in there to help them with some key things such as business growth. We would help them with their processes and compliance, and we would help them with their marketing. Yeah. So when we'd go in, this is what we'd look at. And often I would say, we'd help many people on their growth journey, actually, and people have done very well through the consultancy service we've provided. But actually, they would take away the best bits where they'd see the pound signs. But then when we'd explain, there is a sort of, you've got to go a little bit deeper than that. So yes, we can give you the marketing. Yes, you know, we can help you with the processes. But it was boring. This is too much. I don't want to do this. But this is how you get to that end. You know, this is how we're going to achieve this. It's all a plan, and you have to follow this through. And actually, you have to speak to your clients and take that time out to speak to your clients, because it's all good and well chasing all this new business, but you have to look after those existing clients as well. So this was a big thing to us. And this was one of the things that used to really actually annoy us both, actually, almost, because we'd sit down and we'd say, this is all going in the right direction. Yes, the business is, you know, a certain business, you know, we're helping that they're growing, but they're not listening when it comes to the customer journey and the client's expectations. It's not all about you know, at the end of the day, we're all in business to make money, 100%. That's why we do it. That's why we get out of bed every day, you know, and we go to work, because we want to make money, to live a good life. But at the same time, you have to treat people a certain way, and we're big on that, and that.
Definitely. And I think it's going on the journey with your clients. And I think it's a very underrated, you know, it's like people buy from people. And I think, and one of the big, most underrated traits in a business is communication, being very clear and concise and transparent with your clients. And sometimes it's like having conversations and telling them exactly what's going on. And sometimes you may have to give them a bad news story that, sorry, Mr. Customer, but the electrics are not up to scratch. You are going to have to get this done, and it's going to cost you this much. And I know it's not ideal, however, and you're telling them for this. So everybody knows where they stand, because this was one of the biggest challenges you used to find, like Jazz alluded to, that some companies we'd work for, they would see the pound signs. And this was very much, for example, like back in the day when they were doing it, they used to get a tremendous amount of tenant fees for lettings. Some companies had 70% of the revenue based on those. So suddenly overnight, when the tenant fee ban came, they lost 70% of the revenue. This was something that we were very keen not to do, because we said that for us, it felt like that business model was built on quicksand.
There was actually, this came into force, this legislation, I think it came into force, the Tenant Fee Act, on the 1st of June last year, actually. And there was a lot of sort of agents that decided that they no longer wanted to continue with lettings, because actually, as Narinder just alluded to, 70% of their income was based on, you know, when these tenants come in and they want to apply for a rental property, they have to pay this application application fee. And sometimes they were paying sort of £250 per applicant. And, you know, that's £500 for, you know, like a couple before they've even paid their deposit for the property. And I said to Narendra, I said, you know, we knew this was coming. We knew for a long time this was coming, and we were already sort of making plans and thinking, how could this work? How could our clients work, you know, around this? Before obviously we started our company, the lettings and sales business, and we had so many ideas of how actually no, your business can still be profitable, because there's certain things that you can remove, such as basic things like tenancy agreements. You know, people should be e-signing. You know, you shouldn't be printing off 3 tenancy agreements and people sitting there and signing and giving out all these copies. That costs money. So why don't we e-sign? Just something basic like that. And I know it sounds really basic to us all now, because that's how we sign a lot of contracts. But some agents that are stuck in these old school ways would just be like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, we started the business working from home. Just the two of us, sitting at the dining table around our 2 girls, you know, sort of school runs, and thinking we can make this work around our children. Business started to grow quite quickly, and as Narendra alluded to, clients, that was an example of one client. Other clients started to bring on other parts of their portfolio from other agents to us. So business started growing quite quickly, and then we needed to...
I think that one of the things that's really sort of helped us along this journey is Jazz and myself, we're not scared to roll our sleeves up and work hard. And I think that's, in this sort of, you know, this Instagram day and age we live in at the moment, where everybody just wants to be the next Kardashians. You know, all the youngsters are sort of aspiring to be that exactly.
Yeah.
You know, click a finger and I've got my lifestyle. Hard work underpins everything, and that's been instilled in both of us by our parents. My parents, when they first got married, my dad used to work night shifts and my mum used to work day shifts. They used to see each other on a Saturday and a Sunday, and that was if they were doing well. So I'd spend all my early years with my granddad and grandma, looking at my dad and mum working every hour God sent, and the same with Jazz. So with our business, we will put the graft in. And I remember when we first set the business up, I remember it was June, wasn't it? And we had to move a client into a property in Colville. Now we're from where we live, it's a 45-minute trip there. So I said to him, I said, listen, I said, what time can you meet me? He says, you know what, Narendra, you either meet me before work, or it's going to be in the evening at 8. I said, what time do you start work? He said, 6 o'clock. I met him at Colville at 4:30 in the morning to move him into a house. But it was one of those situations about managing customer expectations, because the customer has to understand that we will do what we need to do. So I moved him in at 4:30, if I remember. I then moved on to Beaumontleys at 6 o'clock. Did another move in at 7, came back home, did the school run.
Yeah.
And then I was back out again. That was a long day. That day actually finished about 9 o'clock at night. And I said to Chelsea,
we don't like to miss our school run, you see.
We don't like missing our school run. That's very, very important to us.
We are very proud. You know, the team is growing. We're careful who we sort of take on in our team. I mean, they have to fit within our sort of ethos, and you know, they go through a lot before we take them on. But they're all fantastic, and they've all got amazing strengths. The business is growing quite rapidly. I mean, like you said, it's grown by 200%, and that's in 14 months. So we are very, very proud of this achievement. But again, it comes with hard work, as you know, you have to put in all these hours, and even on holiday we were working, weren't we, on the beach? So one of us would be out with the children and the other one would be in the... It's just one of those things. It's what you have to do.
There's a saying that my mum and dad used to say to me when we were growing up, and they used to say, and it's actually a very strong saying in our culture, and the saying is, find yourself a spot where you can stand, and then you'll be able to find a place to sit down afterwards anyway. And the analogy behind it is, you're going to have to go through the hard work first, and don't be too arrogant to put the hard work in, because once you've put the hard work in, your reward will come out the other end anyway. And I think our ethos of being not just another agent drives into our team, and that's what we're trying to work with them. So one thing we purposely set out to do is not take on anybody who's already got pre-existing industry experience, because we don't want them to come with a different way of working and a different, potentially bad habits they pick up, which happens. We're all human. So we can take on somebody and we can develop them from the bottom up. They will hopefully buy into our ethos at a very early stage, and that will then help us grow and really sort of nurture the business, I suppose.
We have been shortlisted as finalists for Outstanding Growth by the East Midlands Chambers.
In their annual business awards, which is massive recognition of the massive strides we've taken as a business, you know, being such a new business, and up against some very well established industry names as well, isn't it? So that's been a huge thing for us. And I think also being recognised by other sort of very prominent business leaders has been a big thing for us, hasn't it?
And there are many fantastic business leaders in Leicester, as you know. So yes, I mean, for us, I mean, it means a lot to be recognised by them. It means a lot for us to be shortlisted as a finalist for Outstanding Business Growth. And we are now, as you've said, we are now patrons as well. So
yeah, and that again it gives us a fantastic platform to sort of be able to give our input with policy discussions which potentially go up to sort of governmental level. So that's a very natural growth for us as a company as well. We're also sponsors for the Niche Business Awards, ironically for the Outstanding Growth category.
That was a funny one because many people kept nominating us for the Outstanding Growth category for the Niche Awards, and we sort of kept saying, we're sponsoring that, like there's no point of you nominating us for this. We can't win in this category because we sponsor this. But it was nice. It was nice that people even sort of recognised us.
Yeah.
That means a lot to us in itself, to be honest. It's felt amazing, actually. I mean, obviously, with everything going on with the pandemic, it's been a little bit sort of worrying for us. We actually lost Narinda's father during lockdown quite early on. So it was quite a challenging time for us in March as well. So it's been tough. It's been really, really tough for us as a family. We've struggled a lot. But obviously we kind of kept in our head that he would want us to continue and working hard and making him proud. And he is very proud. He was always very proud.
Yeah. I think it's really hit home because we lost him to COVID, unfortunately, and it became ever so real for us as a family. And I suppose it was a challenge for us mentally on a personal level. But I think we also had a responsibility to our staff, which people would think it just sounds very transactional. But we've got to look at everything has to keep going on, and in the harshest possible way, life goes on, doesn't it? And I suppose it was one of those. I thought, well, what would he do? What would he do right now? And he'd just say to me, you need to just dust yourself down. You've got a responsibility, if not as a father and a husband, but you're employers now as well. And all the hard work you've put in for how many more months, you need to really build on that. So that's been a big driver for us, hasn't it? And I suppose not resting on our laurels, it's a weird one because, yeah, we've been shortlisted for a growth category and we've done this, but you know what, it's done. I'm not the sort of person to keep glorifying in that for weeks and months on end. You're only as good as your last game, honestly. True. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we got shortlisted, it lasted a few hours, and then we move on. And we move on to the next challenge, and then the next challenge.
Because you have to keep going, don't you? You can't just sit there, oh, I've done this, oh, we're amazing, we've achieved this. You need to keep going, because actually that's like old news. Exactly. People move on quite quickly, don't they?
And in the nicest possible way, when people talk to us about it, we say, yeah, it's done. We're going to move on to the next challenge now, because I like to think we're a fast-moving train, and we want our team to be on that exciting journey with us. And if you haven't got that mindset, then we're going to just leave you at the next stop, and we're going to keep motoring on.
And actually, it was a struggle because we took our first member of staff on in Q2.
September last year.
And then Q3, we took on another 2 members of staff. Was that?
So it was September. We motored until literally March. And we took on 2 members of staff in March.
Because we were getting really busy. And then lockdown kicked in. So then obviously we had this whole challenge with furlough and, we weren't going to get anything for them because of the date that they started. But we wanted to continue and we didn't want to lose these 2 new members of staff because actually we'd recruited them. We've taken these girls on for a reason because we see something in them. And we then they were fantastic. We motored on, didn't we? We just thought
We did because, like Jazz said, we said to the girls, we said, you're not just here for a short term for us. We see a very long career with us, hopefully, and we think we can really develop you. So we're going to carry on as employers because You're doing a fantastic job. The one thing that we've really underpinned our business is we've always said that we're going to make sure the foundations are solid when it comes to being able to underpin the business. Now, obviously, with the pandemic going on, yes, there's obviously businesses, it's a challenge for all of us, of course it is. But what we've tried to do, we've tried to cut our cloth accordingly, so not make sure our liabilities aren't out of this world and that we can manage everything. So with everything going on, we'd like to think to an extent we're a little bit prepared.
Yeah.
Without sort of putting ourselves at
As
risk.
prepared as you can
As
be
prepared as you
with
can be.
everything, because
Exactly.
nobody knows how long this is all going to go on
Exactly.
for, do they? So working together as a married couple, I love it. I love working with Narinder.
Yeah.
Every day is different and we work very well together. And actually we have that same end goal. And, you know, you can be directors in a company with somebody else, but you're both pulling in different directions. But with us, we're not. We're pulling in the same direction.
We love working together. And yeah, listen, don't care. There's days when we bicker, of course. That wouldn't be healthy if we didn't. And there's times when we have differences of opinion, which is also healthy as well, because it helps you sort of come to some sort of nice middle ground. But I think the one thing we do ever so well is when we're doing a lot of decision making, which is all the time, we take our time. We'll discuss it, and we'll take a step back, take a break. We'll discuss it again, and take a step back, and then we'll discuss it again. And when it's solidified, and we'll play out different scenarios because we know these scenarios impact us directly. It doesn't impact a board of shareholders and a board of directors, it impacts us. So we're very, we're very articulate like that, aren't we? And
We are, and I also think it works really well because actually we both have our own strengths and it just works. You know, I have my strengths, Narinder has his. Narinder will sometimes come to me with an idea. This is what we're going to do. So, and he'll have these great ideas, and then I'll sit down with him, right, okay, now we need to make a plan how we're going to achieve this. That's where then I come in, because then I'll sit there with my meticulous planning of everything, and how are we actually going to achieve this step by step? Yeah. And it just works. It works so well.
I've been known to give her ideas at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that can be a bit annoying. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to sleep, and he wakes you up and says, Jazz, can you just make a note of this? And I'm like, I'm asleep. Can you not make a note of this? Why do you need to wake me up?
But I'm so excited to tell her, share my idea.
Then he's like, no, I need to tell you now. You need to listen.
And it was something somebody said to me before. He says, when you're an entrepreneur, you always tick, 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 tick. And he said it's just natural, it's just normal. Because you start thinking to yourself, like, it can't be healthy, just thinking in the middle of the night. But
yeah. We are already classed as we've got a new website at the moment being launched. So that's going to be launching on the 5th of October. Yeah. So people will see on there exactly what we're doing. But it shows on there the areas that we're covering now. So we cover properties at the moment within Leicester, Coventry, Birmingham, Mansfield
and Nottingham.
So we are regarded as a Midlands agent. But we have big plans.
Yeah, so we're currently just dotting the I's, crossing the T's on a satellite office in Birmingham. We've had 3 expressions of interest in aligning themselves with ourselves, business alliances with 3 other agents in different cities, with a view to us eventually taking over them as a going concern, rebranding everything. So it's all, again, that strategy that we've worked out where we're going to slowly get into the market, solidify our base, and then slowly start filtering the brand through so we can take over these businesses. So that's a part of the grander scheme. Obviously, there's a lot of NDAs involved, so we can't say too much right now, but hopefully watch this space.
So we do have another 2 offshoot businesses. The first one is our maintenance company. Now, the reason we set this up is because obviously we manage quite a large portfolio of rental properties. A lot of our landlords would come to us and say, help. So it made sense to have our own maintenance company. Yeah. And we also have clients who will buy properties quite run down. You know, they'll invest in Leicester. So we have a lot of sort of landlords in London that will invest. We have overseas clients as well. So they will invest in Leicester and they will say to us, help with this whole project. You know, I've managed to buy this repossession or this probate property, but it all needs doing up. And that's where our maintenance company comes in. The other company is Fraser Stretton. And that, Narinder, I will let elaborate on because he's very passionate about this company.
Yeah, so Fraser Stretton is possibly, like Jazz always alludes to, it's my baby, it's my little project. So again, very much in line with our core business. Fraser Stratton is a specialist new build sales specialist. So it works with small to mid-sized developers who are building new homes. And this again all came about from our consulting days. So we used to find builders who would build, say, 15 houses. Now our background was we can source land for developers, so we can find land, we can then help them finance it. And they'd build a house, and then they'd go to one of the big high street agents and say, can you sell my 15 new homes? That agent would give them the same service as somebody who's selling one house.
An established home.
Established home. So you'd think to yourself, well, this is a bit of a disservice here. A, you're getting a lot of tremendous amount of volume here, but why are you giving them the same service? You're literally taking a picture and you're sitting in your office and that's all you're doing. So we set up Fraser Stratton to work with developers to help them with a very bespoke journey. Now, some of the more established builders have their own marketing suites on site. Smaller builders don't have that capacity. That's where we come in. So we help them with the marketing. So we start from...
I was literally just going to say, yeah, so there's a process involved in this as well. So if you go to a high street estate agent, they will put that property on the market either as coming soon or when it's ready. That's not how we work. No. We are involved from as soon as they have that planning permission granted and they're ready to start the build. We are there, so we will help them with their help to buy, so all of their funding. We will help them with all of the style sort of homes, so which ones to sort of have as their show homes. We will help stage those show homes. We will also follow the project through, so we will create CGI videos and drone videos of how the development's coming along. So we start getting applicants registering their interest quite early on. So we're kind of ahead of the game, really, with all these applicants waiting.
We're currently working on a development where currently, if you go on site, it's just a building site with two homes halfway up, and that's it. But our CGI video shows you the whole development come to life. And the idea behind this is to help the developers realise funds quicker. So if we can plots off plan for them, it really helps them get the money. And especially when you're a small developer, budgets can be quite tight.
Exactly.
This helps them release more funds.
Less is more. And remember that it's not you buying that house. So we all have our own taste, don't we? So you'll have a certain way that you like your house to present it. I have a certain way. It's about sitting there and actually, I mean, I actually am working with an interior designer at the moment. So we are in the process. We have a big meeting next week actually to create these designs for these two show homes. We have the moon boards that we're going to be starting on next week, sorry. So honestly, less is more. Less is more. People need to be able to go in and visualize themselves living in that house. So if you put all of these little bits and bobs in the room, they don't want to see that. And actually that can put people off, I think.
You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a lifestyle, and you're sort of hopefully helping somebody realize their dream.
Yeah.
So in a weird kind of way, it's got to be a home. It just can't be very much a set on EastEnders where it's just like a makeshift room. It's got to feel like home. So when you walk in, you think, yeah, I can see myself in this. But I think the biggest thing going for us right now with all our companies is we don't claim to be the biggest, but we aim to be the best.
The other thing is, growing up, I used to think there was something wrong with me. I've got to just explain this. Growing up, I remember I would be with sort of my friends and I wouldn't stop. Like, I'd be constantly thinking of ways to make money. Like, what can we do? Like, let's do something. Yeah, I know we're studying, but come on, we need to do something. We should be making money. We need to be earning money. Exactly. And it would just be like, Jazz, can you just stop? Like, we've got our student loan. What's wrong with you? Just enjoy your life. And I used to think, what's wrong with me? Like, why do I keep doing this? Like, why do I keep making notes? And like, why have I always what's wrong? And actually, it's really odd because I had this conversation with, it was with you, wasn't it? And then I had this conversation with Jenny as well from Cross Productions. And you both said the same thing. It's because you're an entrepreneur. You can't stop. But growing up, you don't know that, do you? Because you just think, what's wrong with me?
That's part of the reason we get on so well, is because we know what we want to do, we know how we want to do it. And sometimes you have plenty of challenges, and you face a lot of obstacles, of course you do. But when you come through those and you think how far you've come, you think, we've done really well. But now let's motor on. We never want to just stand still. The housing market at the moment, it's a funny place. 2 to an outsider looking in, they think everybody's ever so busy. And to an extent, that's true. The lettings market's never been busier. It's amazingly busy. The sales market's a funny one. We're seeing a tremendous amount of houses coming on the market to sell. Now, this is a combination of various things here. People are looking at upsizing and hopefully taking advantage in their minds of the stamp duty holiday, which runs till next March. What you're finding as a result of that, though, is a lot of the houses are being priced above what they should be. And it's because what's driving this is the fact that buyers and sellers are not worried about the stamp duty anymore. So let's just say, for argument's sake, a £240,000 house suddenly becomes a £270,000 house because the buyers think, well, I'm not going to have to find that X amount of money for the stamp duty. So you know what? I'll lob it onto my mortgage and we'll see where that takes us. That's all good and well. And I can understand what the logic behind that. Where there'll be, in my own opinion, will be a challenge is going to be next year. So when the stamp duty holiday finishes, which is going to finish soon, it'll soon come around. When it comes to people then potentially remortgaging after a year because they've got a year's package or a 2-year package, there'll be a levelling out of the house prices. That £270,000 house you bought potentially will come down to 240, 250. And when the mortgage company come out to value that, suddenly you realise I'm £30,000 out here. I can't borrow on my house. So now I'm going to have to pay this variable rate mortgage. Now, that may not happen because I can't forecast, but my gut feeling tells me there'll be massive levelling out of the housing market. With my property developer estate agent head on, certainly from the lettings point of view, if somebody wants to increase their portfolio, if they can just hold the nerve for another 6 months, you'll find there'll be more and more stuff coming on the market at a truer price, which means that the yields will increase by a couple of %.